that rape is understandable in a war, and that they would probably do it too. Sexual assaults don't have any rational explanation. Listen, I know you don't want to believe it, but basically men are biologically designed to hunt, and that includes hunt women. It's in our nature to rape, and just take what we want. He said that on our second date. What the living F******. How he did not allow his better educated wife to spend her own salary without his permission. Her salary was higher than his, and he was dumb as F***ck. Edit. He did this because he genuinely believes women cannot make ***ny* decision. He also decides his wife's bedtime. Why is that better educated woman with him? Hope she left his A*****. A seemingly sweet and sensitive guy I was seeing suddenly became really glazed over in telling me how much he was angry at women and how they are to blame to relationships failing. His face went red and his eyes were welling up. It went over him like a wave, then he returned to being all sweet and nice. I never really trusted him after that. Yeah, it's pretty common. A lot of men and women carry resentment towards the opposite gender because of their individual experience. It can be easy for people who haven't had much positive experience with the opposite gender to generalize their very small experience in the grand scheme of things and blame all women or all men for the state of affairs of relationships. A man can't be expected to ignore a 16-year-old girl when she's in his lap, a male relative. When I was expressing absolute disgust at men who prey on teens, my response was, "So you're okay with a grown man fucking a child?" His response, "If she knows what she's doing, it's her fault and he shouldn't get in trouble for it." And thus the story of how I learned he's okay with at least some level of child sexual abuse. Some people really think that teenage girls have the capacity to have adult relationships, but not the capacity to actually be an adult. She's an adult when it's convenient, a child when it's not. Office seatmate was known as a really sweet, pretty fun person, but on the quieter side. They'd been working on something quite stressful. We'd all been giving them space. Then out of the blue, after hours of quiet, in a casual tone, "You know when people go into offices with a gun and just go postal? I get why they do that." Then she walked off. And then, with a rustling of papers and a spinning chair, she once again had the office to herself. Nice guys finish last. Immediately no. I hope this isn't a dumb question, but I've heard that saying quite a lot over the years. What does it mean though? Thanks in advance. If a girl gets raped and it lasts more than 10 minutes, it's not rape, because why not just fight them off? She's definitely enjoying it. Have never spoken to them, since still sick to my stomach. Yeah, if you're being murdered and you bleed out for a long time, just stop it. LMAO, clearly you want to die. I've heard men defending convicted sexual predators. Apparently they're all the victims of greedy women. Those guys I avoid like the plague. It scares me how common this way of thinking is by some men. It's horrible. I was dating someone who said he can't take women in his workplace seriously when they give him instructions, unless they are bigger than him, taller, heavier, etc. He would also often tell me he saw dreams of him killing women. He thought of himself being so progressive. We didn't date for long after that for obvious reasons. I bet his idea of progressive was being open about his feelings. He failed to realize it's completely empty if every feeling he has is regressive or downright psychotic. When I was younger, my close friend told me he genuinely believed he couldn't die. I thought he was kidding at first, but he'd bring it up time and time again as we grew up. He'd say, "You could shoot me in the head and I don't think I would." I always kept my eye on him since then. This is the first Reddit comment I read so far where you're scared *FOR* them based off a comment they made. Was this guy ever scared for his well-being? I was in the car with a very close family member. They always like to play these inflammatory radio shows at a high volume when they drive. The hosts of a radio show they were playing that day were mocking the anonymous woman who accused Aziz Ansari of assaulting her. That family member then turned to me and said women in Hollywood were hypocrites for supporting the Me Too movement because they wore revealing clothing to red carpet events. I hate to say it, but it was probably something so small and insignificant for them that they have probably already moved on and forgotten about ever saying it. but I have never been able to forget that. Maybe I'm not afraid of them, but I can't say that I respect them. On a first date, a really big guy with probably 150 pounds on me, told me, "It's not rape if you yell surprise first, then it's just surprise sex." It didn't scare me, but my mama didn't raise no fool. I told the barista I was having an issue, and it took about 15 seconds before he handed me off to the kitchen to keep me out of sight, just in case, and hauled the guy out of the place. They even comped me a sandwich and a tea while I waited to be sure the guy left, and then the guy that tossed my date walked me to my car, also just in case. I started reconnaissance dating after that. I would take a couple friends, they would sit at a nearby table and ignore me, but if the date went south, they were there to back me up. That is actually a great idea, more people should do this. An older family member told me through a smile and matter-of-fact voice that education should be segregated. That's just the way it works best. It wouldn't be any better if you weren't white. That women deserve to get harassed for what they wear. He had the audacity to debate about this on Facebook. Lots of Arab men say that too. OMG, Egyptian community can relate to every comment here. A few months ago on the news, a man fought with his GF and pushed her off a cliff. My uncle said something along the lines of she probably did something to trigger him. Oh my goodness. That's literally no excuse, and I can't believe that actually happened. I'm really sorry he said that. I went on a date with a guy, and he was telling me that he loved going to sports bars like Hooters and Twin Peaks. He was telling me that his favorite time to go was lingerie nights. Then he was telling me he enjoys going to the bars on Saturday nights so he can watch women in tiny skirts and shirts and dresses catfight. He then said they are drunk enough to act like that in public. Imagine what they do in private, then winked at me. The next day he called me and asked me out again. After our first date I felt so uncomfortable and grossed out, I blocked him. If there is no religion, then what's stopping people from just raping and murdering others? If someone holds that opinion, I just hope they never leave their religion and I stay as far away from them as possible. Makes me think of a quote from True Detective. If the only thing keeping a person decent is the expectation of divine reward, then brother, that person is a piece of shit, and I'd like to get as many of them out in the open as possible. Hey, you're Indian and I'm Pakistani. You know we're enemies, right? This was from an Uber driver I had years ago at 11 o'clock at night. I also went on a date with a guy who said, "I like to look into people's houses. I wish there wasn't a law in trespassing." I blocked his number since lol. I mean, I like to glance in open windows because I find it mildly interesting to see how other people live, but I wouldn't go stand in a yard and just stare. Telling me in great detail on the ways they want to physically hurt someone. I feel sorry for them, but honestly, if they're walking alone and in quiet places at night, what do they expect to happen? My ex regarding women who get raped. He got dumped the next day. At least he feels sorry for them /s. Does he think that women should just stay at home when it gets dark out, or that rape doesn't just only happen at night and in quiet places? That logic makes no sense. Ugh. I'm glad you dumped him quickly after. Backquote, old people should be euthanized when over 75 feet. Some dude in my philosophy class. Not a weird joke, not playing devil's advocate, his genuine opinion that he then continued to defend with passion. He also believes the world would be better if we were all brainwashed into believing the same thing and having the same goal. While I'm not physically afraid of him, I'm very afraid he is going to become a cult leader or other serious criminal in the future. Like, genuinely, point bro is not okay. Hahaha, that's literally the plot of Midsummer. What a loser. We should never believe women about rape allegations unless they have hard evidence. My professor said this to a classroom full of girls who all looked deeply upset and guys who looked like they wholeheartedly agreed. As someone who has been raped, I didn't have proof. My best friend didn't have proof when she was raped. Neither do most women. Sorry that this happened to you and your friends, and that you had to sit through this. What an awful thing for an educator to say. My ex-roommate/friend, when he said that he's sick of going into town and seeing beautiful women with troglodyte men who treat them like shit. I asked him if he'd actually seen this, and he didn't answer, just went off on one about how he should treat women like s******, because they clearly love being abused. Or the time when he had a female friend who was having trouble with her boyfriend and she herself was very unhappy, had anxiety and was being treated poorly by her partner. My friend outright told me that he was going to tell this woman not to complain about her boyfriend to him anymore because he doesn't care unless she's going to suck his dick. Sounds like a real nice guy. I had a ridiculous debate with a man who believed fat people should not be allowed to own clothes. That's a scary level of fat phobia. Kinda sounds like the *WANTS* to look at naked fat people mayo. Like, what is that logic? What did he want them to do? Can't stand it when people say that, or you sit in an argument. It makes absolutely zero sense, unless they're secretly into plus sized people and they're trying to turn that fact around into hatred somehow.